Welcome to my channel Garden. Hi there. Today we're diving into part 8 of story. The villain was never sick. Let's continue. Chaos erupted again. Half the team stormed upstairs. Assistant Sue nearly slipped on fake blood while following. Gu Ilan hurried after the security team, while Shen arrived moments later, still trying to understand what was happening. Liang Zhan instinctively moved too, only for Shen Wenzhou's hand to catch his wrist sharply. "No, I'm not staying behind. You're not going near him." The words came cold. Liang Zhan saw genuine fear beneath the control again. Not fear for himself, fear of losing Liang Zhan. Then another scream echoed upstairs. Male voice this time, one of the guards, followed immediately by, "He's in the walls." Dead silence. Assistant Sue blinked slowly. "What?" The guard's frantic voice crackled through radios. "Hidden passage behind the east corridor paneling. Rich people mansion." Of course there were secret passages. Why wouldn't there be secret passages? Then Shen suddenly muttered from behind them, "I forgot about those." Everyone turned. "You forgot?" Shen looked mildly apologetic. "The estate is old. That is not a normal sentence." Then another voice crackled through the radio. "Target moving toward West Wing." Liang Zhan froze. West Wing, his writing room. Before anyone could react, the mansion speakers turned on again. Static hissed. Then the distorted voice returned. "You really should lock your doors better. I enjoyed reading your drafts." Liang Zhan's stomach dropped violently. Then papers suddenly rained down from the upper staircase. Dozens of manuscript pages fluttering through red emergency lights. His manuscript, his horror novel, all covered in red handwriting. Mocking notes scribbled across the margins. "Villains don't get happy endings. They always lose what they love. Just like before." Liang Zhan stopped breathing. Before? What did that mean? Gu Ilan looked up at the scattered pages, her expression hardening. Shen expression darkened. Shen Wenzhou saw the pages and something inside him snapped. Find him. Every security guard moved instantly, because everyone understood whoever entered this mansion had made a catastrophic mistake. Then the speakers crackled one final time. Too slow. The emergency lights died completely. Darkness swallowed everything. Someone grabbed Liang Zhan instantly. Liang Zhan gasped sharply, then realized it was Shen Wenzhou pulling him close, protecting him again. But in the darkness, another sound echoed nearby. Not from the speakers. Real. Breathing too close. Then a whisper drifted beside Liang Zhan's ear from somewhere in the dark. "Found you first." And suddenly, a hand touched his shoulder. Liang Zhan reacted instantly in pure panic. He swung the nearest object he could grab, which unfortunately happened to be a decorative candlestick. A loud crack echoed through the darkness. "Ow!" The voice sounded offended. Not threatening, just deeply inconvenienced. Then emergency backup lights flickered weakly back on. Dim gold this time. Enough to reveal. Assistant Sue collapsed on the floor, clutching his shoulder. Liang Zhan froze. "Oh my God!" Assistant Sue looked genuinely betrayed. "I was trying to evacuate you. I thought you were the intruder." "That was a bronze candlestick." Shen Yu peeked out from behind Shen Wenzhou calmly. "Good hit though." Shen Yu. Meanwhile Shen Wenzhou looked at Assistant Sue once, then at the candlestick, then back at Assistant Sue. "You approached poorly." Assistant Sue stared blankly. "President Shen, I was assaulted." "You startled him." That was not supportive management. Then another sound echoed nearby. Metal scraping softly inside the walls. Everyone froze again instantly. Alright, actual danger still existed. Assistant Sue immediately forgot his emotional damages and stood back up. Target is moving again. This time, everyone heard it. Movement inside the hidden passageways. Running footsteps behind the walls. The sound traveled through the mansion like something alive moving beneath the house itself. Liang Zhan accidentally created the perfect horror movie set, and now the universe was mocking him personally. Then Shen suddenly pointed toward the far west corridor. There. Everyone turned. One wall panel stood slightly open. darkness visible behind it, a hidden passage entrance. The footsteps stopped. Then slowly a figure stepped out, black clothes, mask and tall build. One hand still stained with red paint or blood. The intruder looked toward them calmly and then laughed. The sound sent chills down Liangzhen's spine immediately, because the man sounded familiar somehow. Then the intruder's gaze landed directly on Liangzhen. You write beautifully. Every instinct in Liangzhen screamed danger. Shen Wenzhou stepped forward instantly, blocking Liangzhen completely behind him. The intruder noticed too. Interesting, he murmured. Shen Wenzhou's voice went flat. You came into my home. The intruder tilted his head slightly. You ruined mine first. There it was. Personal revenge. Then Shen Wenzhou asked quietly, Lin Group. Faint laugh. Smart as always. The intruder slowly removed the mask and Liangzhen's blood ran cold instantly, because he recognized the face from newspapers and business reports. The chairman's son Lin Jaemin, supposedly overseas for months. Lin Jaemin smiled slightly. You destroyed my father. You murdered someone. A necessary sacrifice. The words came so casually that even the security guards looked disturbed. Then Lin Jaemin's gaze shifted toward Liangzhen again. You know what your husband will become eventually? Liangzhen froze. Eventually? Then Lin Jaemin smiled wider. He will burn everything around him. The hallway went still. Somehow that sounded like certainty. Then Lin Jaemin continued. He already started. A pause. And you're next. Before anyone could react, he suddenly pulled something small from his pocket and threw it hard against the floor. Smoke exploded instantly. The hallway vanished into white haze. Security shouted. Someone grabbed Liangzhen tightly again. Shen Wenzhou, protecting him. Then through the smoke, a gunshot rang out. The gunshot exploded through the mansion. For one terrible second, Liangzhen couldn't breathe. Smoke burned his eyes. Security shouted somewhere nearby. Xinyu screamed, Papa! Wenzhou! Gu Ilan's voice broke. Shenrongda was already moving. And then weight crashed into Liangzhen hard. Warm arms wrapping around him completely, shielding him, protecting him. Liangzhen stumbled backward against the wall disoriented, heart pounding violently. Then another gunshot rang out somewhere deeper in the smoke. Security surged forward immediately. Move! Cut off the west passage. Don't let him reach the lower hall. Pure chaos, but Liangzhen barely heard any of it, because Shen Wenzhou was still pressed tightly against him. Not moving. Liangzhen grabbed him immediately. Shen Wenzhou? No answer. Smoke slowly thinned around them. Emergency lights flickered weakly overhead. And then Liangzhen saw it. Fresh blood spreading slowly across Shen Wenzhou's shoulder. The world tilted. No. The word came out broken instantly. No, no, no. Shen Wenzhou finally exhaled sharply against him. I'm fine. Liar. Liangzhen's hands shook violently trying to pull him closer, checking the wound frantically. You got shot. Grazed. There is blood. Minor. You are not allowed to define minor anymore. Nearby, Shunyu had burst into tears completely now. Tiny hands clutching ink tightly. The child looked terrified. Like this was a nightmare he already knew too well. Then Shen Wenzhou finally pulled back slightly, enough to look at Liangzhen directly. Smoke drifted faintly between them. His face remained pale but calm, and his eyes searched Liangzhen first. Did he touch you? Liangzhen stared at him in disbelief. You got shot. Another pause. You're crying again. That was not the issue. Then suddenly Shen Wenzhou reached up with his uninjured hand and wiped beneath Liangzhen's eyes gently. Despite blood running down his sleeve, despite security chaos around them, despite the fact he'd just been shot, he was still checking Liangzhen first. The realization hurt so badly Liangzhen almost couldn't stand it. Then footsteps thundered nearby. Assistant Su emerged through the smoke looking murderous for the first time in his entire exhausted life. Medical team is coming. Where's Lin Jaemin? Shen Wenzhou asked immediately. Escaped through lower passages. The temperature dropped instantly. Very bad answer. Then Shen Wenzhou moved like he intended to stand properly. Liang Jin grabbed him instantly. Absolutely not. He's getting away. You are bleeding. He aimed at you. And now you're shot. Their eyes locked. Tension crackled between them. Then softly, dangerously softly, Shen Wenzhou said, I won't let anyone threaten you and walk away. The words hit like lightning. Because Shen Wenzhou wasn't angry about the mansion intrusion or the threats or even the revenge. The thing that truly shattered his restraint was the moment someone aimed a weapon toward Liang Jin. Shen Yu ran forward and wrapped both arms around Shen Wenzhou's waist, crying openly now. Don't chase him. The tiny broken voice cut through everything instantly. Shen Wenzhou froze, then slowly looked down. Shen Yu's hands were shaking badly. Please, Papa. The hallway became deathly quiet, because everyone understood. Shen Yu thought his father might not come back if he left tonight. Liang Jin reached out and caught Shen Wenzhou's injured hand carefully. Warm blood against trembling fingers. And very softly he said, Stay with us. Smoke still drifted faintly through emergency lights. Security teams moved in the distance. Radios crackled softly somewhere downstairs. But none of it mattered anymore. Because Shen Wenzhou had stopped moving the moment Liang Jin said, Stay. Liang Jin still held his injured hand carefully. Warm blood stained his fingers. Shen Yu clung tightly to Shen Wenzhou's waist beneath them both. Tiny shoulders shaking, terrified he'd leave. Terrified he wouldn't come back. The fury in Shen Wenzhou's expression cracked completely, leaving behind exhaustion. Then he looked down at Shen Yu and whispered, Okay. The child broke instantly in quiet tears and trembling relief, like he'd been holding his breath this entire time waiting for that answer. Liang Jin's chest hurt so badly he could barely breathe. Then Assistant Su quietly signaled the medical team forward before he started crying too apparently. Honestly, the entire household looked emotionally compromised. An hour later, the mansion finally settled into uneasy calm. Security swept the remaining passages. Police arrived discreetly. Half the staff refused to walk through dark hallways anymore. And Liang Jin sat beside Shen Wenzhou in the bedroom while the doctor finished stitching the shoulder wound. You need rest, the doctor said firmly. Shen Wenzhou looked unimpressed. I'm fine. The entire room stared. Even the doctor looked offended professionally. You were shot. Technically grazed. Silence. Liang Jin snapped immediately. The doctor visibly approved. Meanwhile, Shen Yu sat curled beside Liang Jin, clutching ink protectively while glaring at Shen Wenzhou with tiny betrayed eyes. Papa scared everyone. Shen Wenzhou paused slightly. I know. The child looked unconvinced. Reasonable honestly. After the doctor and others finally left, the bedroom fell quiet. Warm lamplight softened the room and Shen Wenzhou, still pale from blood loss, sat against the headboard in dark sleep clothes with fresh bandages beneath the collar. Liang Jin stared very hard. Because now that the adrenaline-faded anger arrived, Shen Wenzhou noticed immediately. Why are you looking at me like that? You got shot. Minor. Liang Jin's eye twitched. Say minor again and I'll make it major. The corner of Shen Wenzhou's mouth lifted slightly. Tiny and amused. This man. You think this is funny? No. Liar. A little. Unbelievable. Liang Jin stood immediately and started pacing. You jumped in front of a gun. He aimed at you. That does not mean you absorb bullets recreationally. Shen Yu nodded solemnly from the bed. Correct. Traitorous support from the child. Then Shen Wenzhou quietly asked, Would you rather he shot you? Liang Jin froze instantly. No. That's not the point. Then what is? The question landed like Shen Wenzhou truly didn't understand. And Liang Jin realized the problem. To Shen Wenzhou, protecting Liang Jin was instinct. Even if it hurt him, even if it killed him, the realization made Liang Jin's anger crack painfully around the edges. Then Shen Wenzhou added, I'd do it again. Liang Jin stared at him in horror. You cannot say things like that casually. Why not? Because they're insane. A faint breath of amusement escaped Shen Wenzhou again. clearly enjoying Liang Zhen's emotional breakdown. Then Liang Zhen marched directly toward the bed. Shen Wenzhou blinked once, and before he could react, Liang Zhen grabbed his face with both hands firmly. Even Shen Yu looked startled. "You?" Liang Zhen said fiercely. "Are resting tonight?" Shen Wenzhou looked up at him quietly. Warm skin beneath Liang Zhen's palms. Slight exhaustion visible beneath dark eyes now that the adrenaline faded. And instead of pulling away, Shen Wenzhou leaned slightly into the touch instinctively. The tiny unconscious movement nearly killed Liang Zhen instantly. Shen Wenzhou murmured, "You're shaking again," because Liang Zhen was still terrified, and they both knew it now. The next morning, the Shen household operated under strict medical orders. Specifically, President Shen was banned from working. This was unprecedented. Historic, even. Assistant Su personally delivered 3 laptops to the study, only for Liang Zhen to intercept him at the door holding a wooden spoon like a weapon. "No!" Assistant Su froze instinctively. "Mr. Liang. He's resting. There are urgent files. There are urgent stitches." Then Shen Wenzhou's voice drifted calmly from the bedroom. "Su." Assistant Su immediately looked hopeful. "Yes, President Shen? Leave before he escalates." Assistant Su obeyed because even exhausted and half-shot, Shen Wenzhou still controlled the entire corporate ecosystem through sheer intimidation. The door closed. Then Liang Zhen marched back toward the bedroom determinedly. Inside, Shen Wenzhou sat against the pillows wearing dark sleep clothes loosely draped around fresh bandages. Reading documents on a tablet. "Excuse him." Liang Zhen stopped in the doorway slowly. "What did I just say?" Without looking up, "That you were confiscating electronics. And I disagreed internally." Liang Zhen ascended spiritually. He walked over immediately and snatched the tablet away. Shen Wenzhou finally looked up mildly offended. "Rude. You were shot. Technically. Don't. Minorly shot." Shen Wenzhou. Meanwhile, from the couch nearby, Shun Yu looked up from coloring books. "Papa likes making Mama angry." "Correct." Liang Zhen snapped immediately. "No." Shen Wenzhou replied calmly. Then after 1 second, "Maybe slightly. Unbelievable." Liang Zhen placed the confiscated tablet far across the room before returning to the bed. Arms crossed. Suspicious. Because Shen Wenzhou looked far too relaxed for someone medically sentenced to rest. Then suddenly Liang Zhen narrowed his eyes. "Did you sleep at all?" Suspicious silence. "Oh my God. I rested." "That is not sleeping." "I closed my eyes." "For how long?" "Intermittently." "Criminal behavior." Liang Zhen immediately pulled the curtains wider. Bright morning light flooded the room. Shen Wenzhou visibly disliked that. "Good. You are sleeping properly today." "No." "Yes. I have meetings." "You have blood loss." "I can multitask." Liang Zhen leaned closer immediately. "You know what else multitasks?" A pause. "What?" "Corpses decomposing." Dead silence. From the couch, Shen Yu nodded seriously. "Good point. The child inherited instincts from somewhere terrible." Then Shen Wenzhou sighed softly, tired. The sound made Liang Zhen pause instantly. Now that morning light filled the room, he could see it properly. Shen Wenzhou looked worn down, and Liang Zhen remembered the fear last night, the blood, the shaking hands, and the way Shen Wenzhou immediately searched for Liang Zhen first even while injured. Something inside Liang Zhen softened painfully. Then quietly he asked, "Does it hurt?" Shen Wenzhou looked at him for a long moment, probably deciding whether lying was worth it. Then, "A little." Liang Zhen's chest tightened instantly, because that honest little admission felt worse than denial. Then Shun Yu climbed off the couch and shuffled sleepily toward the bed carrying ink. The cat looked equally sleepy and judgmental. Without hesitation, Shun Yu deposited both himself and ink directly against Shen Wenzhou's uninjured side. "Rest now." The tiny command was absurdly serious, and Shen Wenzhou, the terrifying man capable of destroying corporations, actually obeyed. Slowly leaning back against the pillows properly, Liang Zhen stared in disbelief. You listen to him. He's persuasive. No, he isn't. Shen Yu turned toward Liang Zhen expectantly. You too. Excuse him. Before Liang Zhen could protest, Shen Yu lifted the blanket edge invitingly. Like this was obvious. Like of course Liang Zhen belonged there too. Dangerous child. Liang Zhen hesitated only 2 seconds before surrendering. Because honestly, he was tired too. The past few days had been emotional warfare. So, he carefully settled beside Shen Wenzhou atop the blankets. Ink immediately climbed onto Liang Zhen's lap and started purring aggressively. The room slowly quieted afterward with soft morning light and Shen Yu half asleep against Shen Wenzhou's side. Then quietly, without opening his eyes, he murmured, "You stayed." The words were soft enough that maybe he hadn't meant to say them aloud. But Liang Zhen heard anyway, and after a long silence, he answered just as softly, "I said I would." 3 days later, the mansion finally began calming down. Security remained doubled. The hidden passages were mapped fully and Lin Jaemin was still missing, which meant nobody relaxed completely, especially Shen Wenzhou. Even while recovering, he remained terrifyingly attentive. At this point, Liang Zhen suspected Shen Wenzhou tracked his breathing patterns spiritually. Examples: you skipped lunch, you slept late again, why are your hands cold? You've been staring at the same page for 20 minutes. Unacceptable observation levels. So naturally, Liang Zhen escaped to the library again, this time to work on his horror novel peacefully. The mansion library sat quieter than most areas. Tall shelves and warm lamps, perfect writing atmosphere. Liang Zhen settled into one of the armchairs dramatically with notebooks spread around him, then immediately became distracted. Halfway through writing chapter 6, he realized he needed another reference book. With a sigh, Liang Zhen wandered deeper between the shelves, searching absent-mindedly. History of psychological folklore. No Gothic architecture. Why do rich people own books about embalming? Concerning library honestly. Then something moved. Tiny sound behind the far shelves. Liang Zhen froze. The mansion incidents had unfortunately upgraded his survival instincts permanently. Hello! No answer, but another sound followed. Soft scraping, like someone shifting weight carefully. Someone was hiding. Liang Zhen's heartbeat spiked instantly. His brain immediately supplied several possibilities. Intruder, Lin Jaemin, assassin, ghost, tax collector. All terrible. Liang Zhen slowly backed up very quietly. Need weapon, adult supervision and Shen Wenzhou. Then his hand bumped something beside the shelf. A decorative marble bust. Excellent. Rich people finally useful. Liang Zhen carefully lifted it. Surprisingly heavy. Then the shelves shifted suddenly, and a man lunged out from the shadows. Liang Zhen screamed and instinctively swung the marble bust with all the panic strength in his body. The marble bust struck with a heavy crack. The intruder hit the carpet with a dull thud. Liang Zhen froze completely. The marble bust slipped from his hands onto the rug harmlessly. Ha! Silence. Then very slowly, the unconscious man rolled slightly, and Liang Zhen recognized him instantly. Lin Jaemin. Oh my god. Oh my god. The wanted criminal. The armed intruder. The revenge psycho. Liang Zhen stared in horror. I killed him. Then Lin Jaemin groaned weakly. Oh, thank God. Before Liang Zhen could process anything, the library doors burst open violently. Security flooded inside immediately, weapons raised. Assistant Su nearly tripped over himself. And right behind them Shen Wenzhou appeared. The room froze, because the scene looked insane. Liang Zhen standing there pale-faced beside unconscious fugitive, fallen marble bust, overturned bookshelf, and scattered horror novel pages everywhere. Assistant Su whispered weakly. Did Mr. Liang beat him to death with philosophy? It's not philosophy, it's a Roman emperor. That doesn't help. Meanwhile Shen Wenzhou crossed the room instantly, straight to Liang Zhen, hands grabbing his shoulders carefully. Are you hurt? No? You're asking me. I don't know what just happened. Then Shen Wenzhou looked down at Lin Jaemin, then at the marble bust. then slowly back at Liangjun. You hit him. I panicked. Another pause. With Augustus Caesar. I didn't plan that part. Assistant Su covered his face entirely. The security guards looked emotionally overwhelmed. One whispered, "That's actually incredible." Meanwhile, Shen Wenzhou remained perfectly still for one dangerous second. Then suddenly, a laugh escaped him. Quiet at first, then real actual laughter. The entire library froze, because apparently nobody there had ever heard President Shen genuinely laugh before. And Shen Wenzhou, still holding Liangjun's shoulders, looked down at him with helpless amusement in his eyes and said, "You accidentally defeated the most wanted man in the city." Liangjun blinked rapidly. "With Augustus Caesar." "Yes." Shen Yu suddenly appeared in the doorway, somehow wearing tiny dinosaur slippers. Took one look at the unconscious criminal, then looked at Liangjun with complete awe. "Mama is really scary." The library exploded into chaos immediately afterward. Security teams rushed forward to secure Lin Jaemin. Medical staff got called. Assistant Su started issuing 12 orders at once into 3 separate phones while still looking spiritually damaged. And in the center of it all, Liangjun sat frozen in an armchair holding the marble bust weakly. "I committed a historical assassination." One security guard quietly muttered, "Honestly, sir, it was extremely effective. Thank you." Liangjun replied automatically. Then Shen Wenzhou gently removed the marble bust from Liangjun's hands before he accidentally committed further Roman-based violence. "You're shaking." "I attacked a man with imperial decor." "You defended yourself." "That sounds more reasonable than it feels." Meanwhile on the carpet, Lin Jaemin groaned again as medics checked him. Still alive. Unfortunately, conscious enough to speak soon. Then suddenly, "Mama!" Liangjun closed his eyes instantly. Shen Yu stood beside the unconscious criminal looking deeply impressed. "You protected everyone." "I panicked." "Very effectively." Shen Yu looked toward Shen Wenzhou seriously. "Can we keep the statue?" Assistant Su nearly inhaled wrong. Shen Wenzhou looked thoughtful. "For sentimental reasons?" "Battle trophy." Liangjun was surrounded by psychopaths. Then one medic looked up nervously. "President Shen." The suspect regained consciousness. The room temperature dropped immediately. Everyone stilled. Lin Jaemin slowly opened his eyes groggily, then froze upon seeing Shen Wenzhou standing above him. "You!" Shen Wenzhou's expression went completely calm again. But before the atmosphere could spiral, Lin Jaemin's gaze shifted sideways toward Liangjun, and the moment he noticed the marble bust nearby, his expression cracked slightly. "Did he hit me with that?" Assistant Su muttered weakly. "Augustus Caesar specifically." Lin Jaemin stared blankly at the ceiling for a long second. Then somehow he laughed. Half delirious from concussion probably. "I got taken down by a museum." Liangjun pointed immediately. "You broke into the walls of my house." "Your house." Everyone noticed that phrasing instantly, including Liangjun. "Oh no." Very slowly, Shen Wenzhou turned toward him, because Liangjun said it naturally. "Not the Shen estate, not your mansion, but my house." As though he had always belonged there. Lin Jaemin laughed again weakly. "Oh." Everyone looked at him. The injured man blinked sluggishly toward Shen Wenzhou. "That's why you changed." His smile faded slightly. "You stopped chasing me after the gunshot. You would have burned the city down before." The library became very quiet. Old Shen Wenzhou would have pursued revenge no matter the cost. Would have kept going, would have destroyed everything. But this time he stayed. With Liangjun. With Shen Yu. Then Lin Jaemin looked toward Liangjun again strangely. "You ruined him." Liangjun blinked. "Excuse me?" "He used to be terrifying." Assistant Su quietly whispered. "He still is." But Lin Jaemin shook his head weakly. "No, not like before." Then his gaze shifted back toward Shen Wenzhou. "You look human now." No one spoke after that. That sounded less like an insult and more like mourning. Then Shen Wenzhou finally answered softly, "Good." The single word stunned the room, including Liangjun. because there was no hesitation in it. Like becoming softer around Liang Zhen and Shen Yu wasn't weakness to him. It was salvation. Lin Jaemin's gaze drifted from Shen Wenzhou to Liang Zhen. He watched him for a long moment. Then, almost to himself, he whispered, "You really don't remember?" Liang frowned. "Remember what?" A faint smile tugged at Lin Jaemin's lips. "Nothing." Then, a sharp pain exploded behind Liang Zhen's eyes. His breathing hitched. Rain. A white hospital corridor. Someone running. "Mr. Liang." Darkness. A hand reaching toward him. Then, nothing. The pain vanished as suddenly as it came. Liang instinctively grabbed his temple. "Mama!" Shen Yu was already at his side. Shen Wenzhou crossed the room in 2 quick strides. "What happened?" Liang blinked several times. "Nothing." But that wasn't true. He had heard that voice before. He just couldn't remember where. Shen Yu climbed into Liang Zhen's lap and looked at Lin Jaemin seriously. "You're banned from the library." Dead silence. Even the medics froze. Lin Jaemin stared blankly. "Ha." That night, sleep refused to come. After everything that had happened in the library, Liang Zhen found himself wandering onto the balcony once again. The garden below was quiet. Only the sound of rain remained. Still awake, Liang Zhen turned. Shen Wenzhou stood by the doorway, a cup of tea in one hand. "You too." Shen Wenzhou walked over and stood beside him. For a while, neither of them spoke. The silence wasn't awkward anymore. It was comfortable. Liang Zhen stared out into the rain. "Can I ask you something?" Have I ever met Lin Jaemin before?" Shen Wenzhou looked at him. "Not that you would remember." Liang blinked. "What?" "He attended a few business events years ago." A small shrug. "You probably saw him once or twice." Liang frowned. "Maybe. He just..." Liang searched for the right words. "Looked at me like he already knew me." A quiet breeze drifted between them. "He was trying to unsettle you," Shen Wenzhou said calmly. "He succeeded." Liang let out a quiet laugh. "Yeah, that explanation made sense. Didn't it? But..." He touched his temple unconsciously. "For a second, I thought..." The words caught in his throat. "Never mind." Shen Wenzhou looked at him quietly. "What?" Liang laughed awkwardly. "I don't know how to explain it." "Tell me." When he looked at me, it felt... He hesitated. "Familiar." The word surprised even him. Familiar? How could a complete stranger feel familiar? He shook his head. "I've probably been reading too many horror novels." Shen Wenzhou smiled faintly. "Maybe." Liang smiled back before yawning. "I'm going to bed. Good night." "Good night." Liang walked back inside without noticing Shen Wenzhou still standing on the balcony, looking out into the rain. The rain swallowed the words before anyone else could hear them. For the first time in weeks, the Shen estate became peaceful, which felt stranger than danger. Liang Zhen sat cross-legged in the library writing peacefully while ink occupied half the keyboard dramatically. Nearby, Shen Yu colored dinosaurs with intense concentration. And across the room, Shen Wenzhou worked silently with one arm still bandaged beneath dark clothing. Recovery mode villain. Liang Zhen glanced up suspiciously. "You're working again." Without looking away from the documents, "I'm sitting quietly." "That's not the issue. It seems efficient." "Liar." Then Shen Yu pointed at Shen Wenzhou seriously. "Papa promised to rest." Betrayed by his own child. "Good." Shen Wenzhou finally looked up calmly. "I am resting." "You're reading merger reports." "A relaxing activity." "For who?" A faint smile appeared and the room softened around it instantly. "Dangerous man." A servant entered nervously carrying a silver tray. "President Shen." The atmosphere shifted slightly. The servant carefully presented a black envelope sealed in gold wax. Expensive looking. Immediately suspicious. Assistant Su appeared behind the servant, already looking tired. An invitation arrived from the Han family. Shen Wenzhou's expression flattened. "Oh, bad sign." Liang Zhen looked between them curiously. "Who are the Han family?" Nobody answered immediately. Even Shen Yu stopped coloring. Then Shen Rongda entered from the hallway carrying tea and sighed the moment he saw the envelope. Ah, that sounded deeply unfortunate. Gu Ilan appeared right after him. Saw the invitation and visibly lost part of her soul. Absolutely not. Now Liang Zhen was fully invested. What is happening? Assistant Su looked like a man preparing a eulogy. The Hans host the Winter Charity Gala every year. And, Gu Ilan answered dramatically, it's where rich people commit social warfare in formal clothing. Excuse me? Last year someone divorced during dessert. Shen Rongda nodded wisely. Before the cake course. What kind of events were these people attending? Then Assistant Su added carefully. The Han family also has history with President Shen. Liang Zhen looked toward Shen Wenzhou. He froze. Shen Wenzhou looked genuinely annoyed, which somehow felt rarer than angry. The invitation specifically names Mr. Liang as your accompanying partner. Liang Zhen blinked. Me? Gu Ilan looked horrified. Oh no. Shen Rongda lowered his tea. That's deliberate. Even Shen Yu looked suspicious. Bad people? Assistant Su nodded tiredly. The Han family previously attempted several marriage arrangements with President Shen. Liang Zhen suddenly understood everything. Social ambush. Assistant Su continued carefully. And rumors regarding President Shen's marriage have spread widely after recent events. Recent events meaning kidnapping rescues, public possessiveness, obsession allegations, accidental emotional confessions, and apparently assaulting a criminal with Roman decor. Outstanding. My child. Why do I feel nervous? You're beautiful and emotionally important. That sounds threatening. It is. The Hans enjoy targeting weaknesses. That explained the atmosphere. Am I your weakness? The words slipped out before Liang Zhen could stop them. Assistant Su spiritually evacuated. Gu Ilan grabbed Shen Rongda's arm. Even Shen Yu looked between the two of them curiously. Shen Wenzhou met Liang Zhen's eyes. For one long, quiet moment. Yes. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the stay. Let me know your favorite moment in the comments. See you all in the next part.